All right, let's talk gardens. Ready to dig in. We've got a whole bunch of sources here, all about different types of gardens.
Yeah,
We're going to be exploring edible gardens, native plant
all
gardens,
kinds.
and we'll be uncovering their unique benefits and maybe even some surprising facts along the way
Oh, yeah,
so
definitely.
you can figure out what kind of garden really speaks to you.
Exactly.
So think of this like your own personal guide
Mm-hmm.
to creating the garden of your dreams, one that fits, what you're interested in your space.
Absolutely.
So first up, let's talk edible gardens.
Okay.
I gotta say, I'm all about practicality.
hmm
And what's more practical than growing your own fruit, right?
I mean, nothing beats that fresh from the garden taste.
Seriously.
And it's so rewarding to grow your own food, you know?
Totally.
It's like this amazing connection to nature, and you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor, literally.
Right. It's like having a living pantry right outside your door.
Exactly.
You know what I tried last year?
What's that?
Growing tomatoes.
Yeah.
And honest, nothing, and I mean nothing, beats the taste of a sun-warmed tomato straight off the vine.
Oh, I bet.
And, the sources even had some tips for beginners like myself,
Oh, yeah. Like what?
like starting with those easy-to-grow, high-yield crops,
Makes sense.
like tomatoes, lettuce, and herbs.
Good choices.
They give you that quick success.
Yeah, you need those early wins, those little rewards to keep you going.
Right, and it just boosts your gardening confidence.
Definitely. It's like a little high five from Mother Nature.
And speaking of clever techniques, did you know that planting basil near your tomatoes can actually improve their flavor and growth?
Oh, yeah. Companion planting. It's one of my favorite things.
Tell me more about that.
Okay, so it's all about like using the natural relationships between plants to your advantage.
Right, right.
So basil, it repels those pesky tomato hornworms.
Ugh, I hate those.
Right. And it even like enhances the tomato's flavor.
No way.
Yeah, it's like a win-win situation.
I love these little gardening tricks.
Me too. It's like magic.
So the sources also talked about some creative design ideas for edible gardens.
Oh, I love that. What did they say?
It's actually got me feeling inspired.
Me too.
So, like raised beds, for example,
Oh, yeah, raised beds are great.
are brilliant for controlling your soil quality.
Right,
Right.
absolutely.
And they're a little easier on the back.
Much easier.
And, if you're limited on space, which a lot of us are,
For sure.
container gardening is a fantastic option.
A great option. You can grow so much in containers.
So, wait, you're telling me I can have like a thriving salad garden in my tiny apartment?
Yes, absolutely. You can grow so many things in containers, even in a small space.
Wow, that's awesome.
You could even try an herb spiral. Have you ever seen those?
An herb spiral.
Yeah, it's this really cool space-saving design. It kind of looks like a little mini mountain.
Okay.
And you can grow all these different herbs with different needs all in one little spot.
That sounds amazing, like a little herb oasis.
It is.
I'm imagining a vertical salad garden too, like a whole wall,
Ooh, I love that idea.
bursting with fresh greens and herbs.
It's like taking farm to table to a whole new level.
Exactly.
Oh, cool.
And that's the beauty of it, right? You can really tailor these edible gardens to whatever, like your space, your lifestyle, and your culinary desires.
Exactly. It's all about customization.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about creating havens for our pollinators.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, without them, our world would be a lot less colorful and a lot less delicious.
So true. They're so important
Absolutely.
for our ecosystem.
So, what are the key things you need for a pollinator-friendly garden?
Well, you got to provide them with the essentials, right? Food, water, and shelter.
Makes sense.
So a diverse range of flowering plants
Yeah.
that bloom throughout the seasons is super important.
Right. So it's a continuous buffet.
Exactly. Got to keep them happy.
And native plants are especially important for this, right?
Oh, absolutely. They've co-evolved with our local pollinators, so they provide like the
Yeah.
perfect food and habitat.
So it's like offering them a 5-star restaurant.
Exactly. And a luxury hotel all in one.
I love that. What about water?
Ah, yes, water. So you want to provide a shallow dish
Okay.
with some landing spots,
All right.
for safe hydration.
So they don't drown.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a little bird bath, but for bees and butterflies.
Cute.
Yeah.
And the sources also said something about leaving some undisturbed areas in the garden.
Oh, yeah, that's super important for shelter. You can also add bee hotels
Oh, okay.
or even just leave piles of leaves.
Gotcha.
It's like creating these little pockets of wilderness
Right.
where those beneficial insects can rest and nest.
I like that.
Yeah, it's all about creating a welcoming environment. And of course, we got to talk about pesticides.
Oh, yeah.
Huge no-no for pollinator gardens.
Because we want to protect them.
Exactly. We want to protect them, not harm them.
Right. There are plenty of natural pest control methods out there.
Yeah, that won't disrupt the balance of the ecosystem.
I'm really curious about the different types of pollinator gardens that were mentioned.
Oh, me too. Tell me about them.
So we've got butterfly gardens, bee gardens, and hummingbird gardens.
I've heard of those, but what makes each one unique?
Okay, so for butterfly gardens, you might feature plants like butterfly bush and coneflower,
Oh, nice. Good choices.
along with like flat stones where they can bask in the sun.
Butterflies love to sunbathe.
And for a bee garden,
Mm-hmm.
you'd have bee balm, clover, and maybe even a bee hotel for solitary bees.
Oh, bee hotels are so cool. I love seeing them tucked away in gardens.
And for hummingbirds,
Yes.
a garden with tubular flowers like trumpet vine would be irresistible.
Makes sense. They love those long flowers.
Right. And don't forget a sugar water feeder.
Oh, yeah. Gotta keep those hummingbirds happy.
Okay, so we've talked about creating these buzzing havens for pollinators.
They're so important.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting for me.
What's that?
Medicinal and therapeutic gardens.
No, wow.
Imagine a garden designed not just for beauty, but for well-being.
That's a beautiful concept.
Right, tapping into that ancient connection between humans and nature.
It's amazing how nature can heal us.
So true. And it's more than just planting herbs.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about creating a multisensory experience.
Yeah, engaging all the senses.
The sources talked about having accessible paths, raised beds, and comfortable seating so everyone can enjoy it.
I love that, making it accessible for everyone.
And then there's sensory stimulation,
Yeah, what kind of things?
like fragrant flowers like lavender,
Mm-hmm. Lavender's so calming.
textured leaves like lamb's ear,
I love how soft lamb's ear is.
and even the sound of water, like a little fountain.
It's all about creating a sense of peace and tranquility.
Right, like a garden that speaks to all our senses.
A place to unwind and reconnect.
Okay, and speaking of specific plants, the sources had some highlights about popular medicinal herbs and their uses.
Oh, yeah, what did they say?
Lavender for relaxation and sleep,
Classic lavender.
chamomile for calming those frayed nerves,
Oh, chamomile tea, my go-to for stress.
mint to help with digestion,
Always have some mint growing.
and echinacea to support the immune system.
Echinacea is a powerhouse.
And there were also some really cool design ideas for these medicinal gardens.
Oh, I'm always up for some garden design inspo. What did they mention?
So there's that herb spiral we talked about earlier.
The versatile herb spiral.
And then there's this idea of a sensory path.
Ooh, tell me more.
So imagine a path
Okay.
that has like fragrant herbs brushing against your skin,
Nice.
tactile plants inviting you to touch,
Okay.
and just this symphony of colors
Love it.
engaging your sight.
Wow, it's like an immersive experience.
Right. All designed to awaken the senses and bring you peace.
I need a sensory path in my life.
Right.
It sounds amazing.
Okay, last but not least, we got to talk about native plant gardens.
Yes. These are my favorite.
And I got to admit, this is the type of garden I'm most drawn to.
I can see why.
Native plant gardens are all about working with nature, not against it.
Exactly. Letting nature be your guide.
They're designed to thrive in your region's specific conditions.
That's right. Perfectly adapted to the local environment.
So tell me, what are the main advantages of choosing native plants over exotic ones?
Oh, there's so many. Well, for one, they require less water and fertilizer.
That's a big one for me.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm not always great at remembering to water.
Well, natives are your best bet then.
And the sources also talked about how they've evolved alongside local pests and diseases.
Right, so they're naturally more resistant.
So you need fewer pesticides, which is awesome.
It's a win-win.
So it's not just practical.
No, it's about creating a garden that really belongs.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
in tune with its surroundings.
Okay, and native plants provide the ideal habitat for local wildlife.
Oh, absolutely. From tiny insects to birds and mammals.
So you're basically creating a little mini ecosystem.
Exactly. And you're
Mm.
supporting biodiversity, which is so important.
And we talked about those specialist pollinators that rely on specific native plants, right?
Oh, yes, they can't survive without them.
So by creating these gardens, we're helping to protect those vulnerable species.
We're giving them a fighting chance.
Okay, so if you're thinking about creating a native plant garden,
Mm-hmm.
the sources had some really great tips for success.
Oh, I'd love to hear those. I'm always looking for tips.
It all starts with research,
Okay, research. Wait.
getting to know your local flora.
Makes sense.
So connect with gardening clubs, visit botanical gardens, or even just go online
There are so many resources available these days.
and discover those amazing native plants in your area.
It's like a treasure hunt.
I used to think native plants were just wildflowers and grasses.
I know, right? But there's so much more to it.
But the sources opened my eyes to how diverse they really are.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
We've got trees, shrubs, ferns, vines.
It's incredible, the variety.
So once you've familiarized yourself with the native plants,
Mhm.
you got to take a look at your garden space.
Right, gotta assess the situation.
How much sunlight does it get?
Important question.
What type of soil do you have? Is it wet? Is it dry?
Yeah, I gotta know your soil.
Because all of those factors will influence what kind of plants will thrive.
You want to set them up for success.
And then comes the fun part.
Designing the garden.
Exactly.
That's my favorite part.
And the key is to mimic natural ecosystems.
Ah, yes. Working with nature.
So you're grouping plants with similar needs
Just like they grow in the wild.
and creating that layered look.
Right. Trees, shrubs, and ground covers.
And we can't forget about flowering plants,
Oh, they're essential.
not just for beauty,
No.
but to attract pollinators.
And they add those vibrant pops of color.
The sources highlighted some awesome examples of native plant gardens.
Oh, yeah. What were some of your favorites?
The wildflower meadow really caught my eye.
Wildflower meadows are magical.
It's like this low-maintenance tapestry of native grasses and wildflowers.
A feast for the eyes.
I can almost hear the buzzing and chirping just thinking about it.
It's like a symphony of nature.
And you know what's cool?
What?
You can even transform a part of your lawn into a wildflower meadow,
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be amazing.
like having a little piece of prairie in your own backyard.
I love that idea.
Now, I'm also all about practicality, right?
Of course.
And the rain garden concept really stood out to me.
Oh, yeah, rain gardens are awesome.
Not only is it beautiful, but it's a brilliant way to manage stormwater runoff.
And prevent erosion.
And by planting native plants that can tolerate both wet and dry conditions,
Mm-hmm.
you can create this garden that looks amazing
Yeah.
and also helps filter and absorb that excess water.
So it doesn't carry pollutants into waterways.
Right.
It's like having a beautiful sponge in your garden.
And those native plants will attract all sorts of insects and wildlife.
Exactly, creating a thriving ecosystem.
As we've been talking about all these different types of gardens,
Mm.
I'm noticing this theme of sustainability,
Yeah, it's a common thread.
whether it's composting, water conservation, or choosing native plants.
All
It seems like gardening can be a real force for good.
I totally agree. It's more than just a hobby.
Mm.
It's an opportunity to take care of our planet.
To create healthier, more sustainable spaces.
It's about making choices that benefit both our gardens and the planet.
And it doesn't have to be overwhelming, right?
Yeah, not at all.
Even small changes can make a difference,
Every little bit counts.
like adding a rain barrel
Oh, great idea.
or
Yeah.
swapping out a few exotic plants for native ones.
Those small steps can lead to big changes.
So it's not about being perfect.
No,
It's about making an effort.
progress over perfection.
I like that.
And the great thing is, you can incorporate these sustainable practices into any type of garden,
That's what I was thinking.
whether it's edible, pollinator friendly, or a native plant garden.
It's about making conscious choices that align with our values.
Couldn't agree more.
Now, I'm really eager to dive into the practical side of things.
Me too. Let's get into the nitty gritty.
What are some key steps we can take
Okay.
to bring these ideas to life?
Let's start with edible gardens.
Okay.
I think the most important thing is choosing plants that are well suited to your climate and soil conditions.
Makes sense. Work with nature, not against it.
Exactly. And you also want to plan for a continuous harvest, right?
Right.
So plant a variety of crops that mature at different times.
What's your tip?
And don't forget about those companion planting strategies we talked about.
Oh, yeah. Nature's little helpers.
Exactly.
Okay, so for those of us wanting to create those buzzing pollinator havens,
Yes.
how do we make our gardens irresistible to those beneficial insects?
Diversity is key.
Okay, diversity of what?
Plants. You want a wide range of flowering plants that bloom throughout the season.
So they always have something to munch on.
Exactly. And native plants are your best bet for local pollinators.
Got to do our research.
Definitely. It's like creating a five-star restaurant for those buzzing beauties.
I like that.
Mm.
And we need to provide them with the essentials, right?
Yes. Food, water, shelter.
And a pesticide-free environment.
Absolutely. We want to make them feel welcome.
Now, what about medicinal and therapeutic gardens?
Oh, those are special.
What are the key things we need to remember
Well, it's all about creating that sensory experience, right?
to promote well-being?
Choose plants with fragrant flowers, tactile leaves, and those soothing colors. And think about adding elements like water features and comfy seating.
I love that.
It creates a space that's perfect for relaxation and contemplation.
And for native plant gardens, you said research is key.
Research is your best friend.
Okay.
Get to know the local flora, analyze your site conditions, and design your garden to mimic those natural ecosystems.
So it's all about working with nature
Exactly. Let nature be your guide.
and choose those plants that are already adapted to your region.
Right. They'll require less maintenance and be more resilient.
Now, I'm also curious about some of those more advanced techniques.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
The sources mentioned things like composting, soil amendments, permaculture, and biodynamic gardening.
Those are some next level gardening practices.
They seem intriguing, but a bit daunting, to be honest.
I get it. They can seem that way at first.
Yeah.
But they're all about really understanding those natural processes.
Right, and working in harmony with them.
Exactly. So, for example, composting and soil amendments,
Okay.
they're all about building healthy, fertile soil.
So it's like the foundation.
The foundation of a thriving garden. You're nurturing the soil just as much as the plants.
I like that. And what about permaculture?
Permaculture is awesome. It takes a more holistic approach.
How so?
It views the garden as a self-sustaining ecosystem.
Interesting.
It's about mimicking those patterns and relationships found in nature.
Oh,
So
yeah.
everything works together harmoniously.
It's like creating this closed loop system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Less waste, more abundance.
And then there's biodynamic gardening.
Ooh. Yeah, biodynamic gardening.
It sounds almost mystical to me.
It does have a kind of like mystique about it, right?
Yeah.
It incorporates those cosmic rhythms and natural preparations to boost the vitality of the garden.
So it's like working with, I don't know, the subtle energies of nature.
Exactly. It's like taking gardening to a spiritual level.
All these advanced techniques seem a little intimidating at first,
Yeah, I get it. It can feel like a lot to take in.
but I do appreciate how they push us to really, like, dig deeper into understanding nature
Definitely.
and working with those natural rhythms,
It's all about becoming a student of nature.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And we don't have to become experts overnight.
Oh, no, not at all.
It's a journey.
Absolutely.
We can start with small steps,
Start with what feels manageable.
like maybe try a new companion planting strategy
Oh, good idea.
or composting our kitchen scraps.
Composting is a game changer.
So it's all about learning and growing along with our gardens.
Beautifully said.
As we've been exploring all these different garden types,
Mhm.
I've been thinking, which one really resonates with me the most?
It's a tough choice, right? They all have so much to offer.
I know. It's like choosing a favorite child.
I feel you. But I think that's what makes gardening so amazing.
Yeah.
There's something for everyone.
Right.
Whether you're all about that practicality of edible gardens
Right.
or the beauty of a pollinator-friendly space or the peacefulness of a medicinal garden.
For me, I'm really drawn to native plant gardens.
I can see why.
I love the idea of creating a garden that works in harmony with the local ecosystem,
It's a beautiful thing.
supporting biodiversity,
So important.
and minimizing my impact on the environment.
It's definitely a responsible and rewarding way to garden.
It just feels right,
I know exactly what you mean. It's about recognizing that interconnectedness of everything.
Yeah.
Creating a space that benefits not just us, but the whole web of life.
And it doesn't have to be one or the other, right?
Oh, no, not at all.
I can blend elements of all these garden types into my own space.
Absolutely. Get creative, mix and match, have fun with it.
So I could have a raised bed with my favorite veggies, surrounded by native wildflowers that attract pollinators.
Love it.
Or I could tuck some fragrant herbs into my ornamental beds.
Oh, yeah, bringing in those healing properties.
The possibilities are endless.
They really are. It's your garden, your canvas.
And as we learn and grow as gardeners,
Mm-hmm.
our gardens can evolve with us, right?
Exactly. It's a continuous journey of discovery.
So before we wrap up this incredible deep dive into gardens,
Yes.
I have one final thought-provoking question for our listener.
Okay, hit me with it.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave with your garden?
Ooh, that's a good one. That really makes you think.
Right.
It's not just about our own enjoyment, it's about the impact our gardens have
Exactly.
on the environment and future generations.
It's something to really consider.
For sure. Do we want a garden that's just for us or one that gives back to the earth?
That supports wildlife and leaves a positive mark.
It's a powerful question.
So as we all embark on our gardening adventures, whether we're growing food, attracting pollinators, creating a healing space, or supporting those local ecosystems,
It's all good.
every step we take towards sustainability, every native plant we choose, every pollinator we attract,
Mm-hmm.
It's all a step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So get out there, get your hands dirty,
Yeah,
and let's create some beautiful, thriving gardens that make a difference.
I love that.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of gardens.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration.
See you then. It's been fun talking gardens.
I know, right? I'm feeling so inspired.
Me too.
I think I need to go plan my garden right now.
Yeah, me too. What kind of garden are you thinking of creating?
I think I'm going to go for a native plant garden this year.
Oh, nice.
I've always been drawn to them.
They're so beautiful and low maintenance.
Yeah, and I love that they support the local ecosystem.
It's a win-win for you and for nature.
Plus, they're just so stunning to look at.
All those colors and textures.
I can't wait to see what kind of wildlife I can attract.
Oh, yeah, you're going to have so many visitors.
Butterflies, bees, birds.
It's going to be like a little nature sanctuary.
And I'm also thinking about adding a little herb spiral.
Oh, good idea.
Hmm.
You can never have too many herbs.
Fresh herbs are the best.
I know, right?
Yeah.
They elevate any dish.
And they smell amazing too.
It's like having a little aromatherapy garden.
And I want to try composting this year.
Oh, composting is a game changer.
I know. I'm a little late to the game.
But it's never too late to start.
It's going to be so satisfying to turn my kitchen scraps into rich soil.
And your plants will love you for it.
I'm excited to get my hands dirty.
That's the best part of gardening.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of gardens.
It's been a blast.
We hope you're feeling as inspired as we are to get out there and start growing.
Happy gardening, everyone.